الرحمن الرحيم. This is our fifth lecture, lecture number 5 in our course Visual Programming using Visual Basic CS4. And in this lecture, inshallah, we'll talk about functions. As we know, function is a unit of code that returns a value. And the big difference between function and procedure does not return a value, but function does. We have as a categorized, we have two type of functions, two categories: built-in function and user-defined function. And the built-in function is usually a huge number of predefined functions, library function, that helps the programmer to do his own projects. And if you want to talk about the programming languages, we talk about a programming language in terms of the number of predefined functions, number of a library function. Why for? Because whenever a programming language has agreed a huge number of predefined function in its own library, that means this programming language is good, and programming with this programming language is very easy, and vice versa. Whenever the programming language has a few number of predefined functions, that means programmer will do its own tasks by writing the code instead of using the predefined function. So that this is a pointer to point that the programming language is so weak and not strong. The built-in functions within Visual Basic as a programming language, for example, SQR, get the square root for a given number; RND, random number generator; int, returns integer portion of a number; val, converts a string to a value. Locating a built-in function, open the functions online reference book or search for a function by name. Practically, when you go to the laboratory and do your projects within a function, inshallah, the teacher in the laboratory will discuss with you the usage of the predefined function. Programmer written functions, either second type of functions. Write your own functions using the function statement, and this is the general syntax for doing that. Private function, then write your function name, then write your arguments that act as an input to the function, and after that the statements. You have to end the function with the keyword end function, where private or public is required, because it states the accessibility for this of the function. Function indicates the beginning of a function. Function name is the name that will be used to call the function. Parentheses are required around the argument list. Argument 1 and 2 are optional variables needed to perform a calculation or action needed for the function, and function indicates the end of the function. This is the general syntax, and those are the discussion about expressing the keywords and content of the general syntax. Here is an example: private function wind chill. Purpose: calculate the wind chill. Reference: National Weather Service. Okay, those two line of code is known as comment, as we know. dim, those two line of codes is a declaration statement. dimv as integer, t as integer also, and here is a comment for expressing v, wind speed, velocity. T is a temperature. And now those are two assignment statements. Assign to V the value HSP speed dot value. T, assign the value of HSPT temperature dot value. Wind chill become 0.0817 multiply with 3.7 multiply with SQR of V minus or plus 5.81 minus 0.25 multiply with V multiply with T minus 91.4 plus 91.4 n function. Okay, our target is not really knowing how we can calculate wind chill, but our target is knowing how can we write our own function. When the CMB calculate button is clicked, the wind chill function is executed. Private sub CMD calculate underscore click WC become wind chill and text wind chill dot text become C integer WC and sub. Okay, the wind chill project using function and procedures. This is a hands-on exercise. Try to read the exercise carefully and apply all these steps here with your teacher in the laboratory. Controlling your application. In order to control my application, I have sequence, selection or a repetition, not more than that. In our previous course programming method 2 and the previous also programming method 1, and when we studying the data flow chart and data flow diagram, we know that there are three types of data flow diagram, three types of controlling my application and my program in Java. First one is a sequence without branching. Second is selection, branching. Third is a repetition, which include a branching inside it. In our programming language in this course, which is Visual Basic, functions and procedures is a sequence. Selection is of one of two statements, if then else statement and select case statement. If I want to do looping or repetition in Visual Basic, I have three options: for next, for each, next, and do loops, do until. Let's get started discussing the control statement by learning to add a project. Specification for the game. Purpose of the game is to practice addition skills. Use numbers between 0 and 9. User is a preschool age child in kinder generation or in first grade. User may not yet know how to read. Game should give visual feedback indicating correct or incorrect answer. Okay, this is our project, this is our game. Reward for correct answer: 2 plus 6 plus 2 equal 8. Okay, and then go next each time. Okay, if my answer is wrong, this image must be displayed instead of the previous one. Okay, design user interface. Prototype is a partially completed version of an application that demonstrates the look and feel of the finished procedure. Usability testing, end user or client test, design of user interface using a prototype. And this is a hand-on exercise number 2. Try to do it with your teacher in the laboratory. The first iterative statement in Visual Basic is for next. For counter becomes start to end step. Increment statement. This is general syntax. usually end with next counter, where counter is tested to see if less than end. If so, repeat loop again. If not, go to the statement after next. Okay. Example for doing that. The example is after studying the while condition statement end with the keyword loop, where the condition is tested, and if true, the loop is repeated. When the condition is false, the loop statement are skipped. The statement after loop is executed. Third iterative statement is do until. Do until condition statement ends with loop as a keyword, where, and this is the definition for the general syntax, the condition is tested, and if false, the loop is repeated. When the condition is true, the loop statement are skipped. The statement after loop is executed. Here is an example for examining and applying these three syntax repetition statement. Calculate the factorial of a number given by the user. dim factorial as double, dim I as integer, I become 1, factorial become 1. Do while I less than or equal value of text answer dot text. Text answer dot text is a parameter given to val function to get the integer value associated with this text box. Do while I less than or equal the value of text answer dot text, factorial become factorial plus 1, and increment I by 1, end with the keyword loop. Okay. And now this is the third exercise, applying the repetition statement. Okay. Let's now summarize our lecture today. Fundamental programming demonstrated. Variables versus constant, data types, local and global variables, function and procedure, control structure. Statements, dim, static constant, public private, subfunction, do loop, do while loop, do until loop. For each next, for next, if then, and else case, select case. And now let's promise that the next lecture inshallah will be the branching statement. See you. Good wishes.